Well, well, well. What is happening? What is happening, my people? Let's get this all set up. I'm supposed to do something. I already tweeted it. There's something else I have to do, I think. Right? What is it? I don't know. I guess it's not that important. So I'm just going to keep working on this page. Hey, James. James Testify. Welcome. Zanuck Frost. Second. Woohoo! Okay. Let's see. What's the best way to do this? Trying to just make sure the details around this thing match up a little bit with this. I'm not too much of a continuity guy, so it doesn't matter too much. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any big elements. Sire Studio, is that how you pronounce it? Welcome. Hey, does anyone live in Idaho, close to me, and wants to take a road trip tomorrow? I need to drive to Salt Lake City. I gotta deliver some books too. Actually, no, I'm not going to Salt Lake. I'm going to Logan, Utah. Okay, does someone either live in Logan, Utah that wants to hang out for a second, grab lunch, or someone who lives closer to where I'm at in Pocatello that wants to take a road trip with me to Logan and back? If anyone qualifies, it would be nice to have some company. I know it's kind of like probably not going to be easy to find someone who fits that description exactly, but I figured I'd throw it out and ask. Who knows? Boy, that looks crooked. All right, let's get that thing wrangled into shape. looks pretty bad. Need to get these shapes a little better. Okay. Well, it's getting there. It's getting there for now. Oh, let me look at comments. There's a bunch of comments. Cool video about the Bio project. Really enjoyed. Appreciate it. You a lot more now. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Good to see you, Cord. Thanks, buddy. When is Phobos set? Not to mention, is it set in a specific time? I think it's current time. It's current, because the girl has like an iPhone and different things like that. And it's just like so far away from reality as far as the location. And so I'm really trying to play out like this guy, the scientist living out in the middle of nowhere in this old castle he's kind of just doing his own thing. So it's kind of playing with all the old school stuff, but I can keep it modern if I want to, you know. Let's see. Charlena, welcome. Michael O'Hare, thank you. Oranzo was just watching your video on the Bio project when the notification you're being live came on. Good. Well, welcome. All right. Okay, this is basic drawing right here. This is like circles. Like, I really shouldn't be struggling with it. But I am. Okay, I need to figure out the perspective here. That's probably my problem. Actually, I'll do it on another layer. I think it'll be more like not really wide angle lens. Maybe it should be even more of a what's that called when you don't have much perspective? They use it in video games. That, exactly, that thing. You thought I had a Walking Dead comic type stike. Kind of. Well, that's cool. Sorry, I should actually say what I'm responding to instead of just blurting out things, right? Let's see, there's some... Is that right? Okay, there's some cables. Coming out over here. Okay. Oh, I remember what I was going to do. I was going to tell my guys in Discord that I'm on. Give me 1 second. Sorry, this is getting boring again. I'm live streaming right now. Okay, that'll do it. There's Nick. Welcome, buddy. Question from Michael. Stock brush or custom? I believe it's a custom brush that I got when I was working on Kung Fu Panda, and then I've kind of customized it from that. But it's not really anything special. It's just it's just a hard-edged gritty brush. I like it. Bryant says, just the other week I picked up all 3 Sithra and both of Remind. I love the storytelling, and I've got a few friends looking into them now. I'm excited for Phobos. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you, handing it around or telling other people about it. Oh, thanks. And thanks for that last comment about the Bible Project stuff. James asks, why is everyone talking about the Bible Project? I just put out a video just talking about my a video that I animated about. It was like 3 years ago for the Bible Project, and it was when they started, and it was a time when I was transitioning out of DreamWorks and moving to Idaho, and so that's why. So if you just check out my YouTube channel, it's the newest video that I have. I've had some old animation, some old screen recordings of myself animating, because John asked me to ask all the artists to do that at one point, and I don't know if he ever did anything with it. I think everybody kind of forgot to do it, and so I had these files just sitting there on my computer, and I was like, the other day I was like, I need to just why don't I show these? These are cool, So, and then I realized too, I don't know if a lot of people know that I worked on that, because they don't really credit, or they didn't really put credits in the videos back in when they started. So I don't think anyone really knew I did it. But that was a lot of fun. Good times. Okay. So in this panel, you hear the mad scientist guy, Sir, going, look at that. They're all making fun of me. And he's like responding to these rats in this thing. I guess he's afraid of like creatures kind of. And I'm trying to give Aninik a kind of an end. Like this scene is all about kind of showing some redeeming qualities that she might have that he would want. Does that make sense? Because the previous scene, she tries to act all tough and fails. And then, so this scene, he's always kind of weirded out by creatures for whatever reason. And I want to have her just dive into this, because Frank can't really help. He's too big. So she's going to kind of go in there and take care of business. not getting grossed out by anything. So anyway, explaining too much. So he's trying to get the valve turned on to whatever, blah blah blah, and that's what this scene's about. It's kind of more like character setup and stuff more than anything. I've found myself kind of doing a lot of scenes that are not super critical to the story, but they just kind of, it just sets up things so much better than how the old version of this was. Because the old version was literally like 5 pages, and then they're all just hanging out and they're buddies, you know, like Phobos is this ancient dark vampire and he's cracking jokes on the 3rd page, you know. It just was really difficult to believe it all. So I'm trying to like build up the world a little bit and build up each character a little bit before I just launch them into more of the story. So I will say this is kind of a slow build. The whole first hardcover will be kind of which I guess is not unnormal for me. It's a lot of just introductions and character building and introducing the bad guys and and providing a lot of mysteries for people, for the audience. Trying to figure out how to do this. I want to have all these rats in here looking at them. All my characters look the same. They all look like lizard men. The shape. From Remind. Whether they're rats, whether they're Cithras, or what. They all have the same shape. Get rid of all that detail now by covering it with black. It's okay. That's what the white paintbrush is for, right? Let's see, or the eraser tool. Trying to make this stuff as fast as I can without getting too hung up in like details, as long as the artwork sells the idea quickly, and plus people are going to be looking at it like this big, like that big probably, since it's manga sized. You guys recognize these rats? I just used the same rats from Remind. Oh, let me look at comments real quick. I see some questions. Let's see. Richard Smith says, "Are you interested getting the new line of Cintiq Pro 32-inch? Is it brand new? I haven't heard too much about it, but I would kind of like to get a new Cintiq, because I I don't like looking really close up on this one, even though I have to since I'm drawing, because I see the pixels. And if there's a new Cintiq that's a decent price that you don't see the pixels, then I might upgrade to it eventually. Maybe if I can afford it. Maybe if like a Kickstarter goes way over and I have some extra money, I might do it at that time. Because I really do want to get, okay, so I'm going off on a tangent now. I really do want to get, have an assistant in here working, helping me in-house, and have a computer for him or her and a Cintiq. And so it makes sense to get another Cintiq anyway, just for that purpose. Sorry, I don't know why I went there. But anyway, yeah. I would like to get something better. I've had this one about 3 years now, and I was forced to buy it because my old Cintiq just quit, completely broke, and not broke, but it just quit on me. And I couldn't get one that kind anymore. They stopped making them. And the new little Cintiqs you couldn't mount like this on an arm like this. And so I was really unimpressed with the new version of the smaller Cintiq. So I got this big one instead. And I've never been completely satisfied with it. But yeah, that's it. Let's see. Question. Do you thumbnail the entire story, Michael here asks, before you begin the final pencils colors? Nope. This spread and the next spread are the only spreads that I have thumbnailed that out of the rest of the story. So I'll thumbnail in groups. I'll thumbnail like maybe 10 or 20 pages at a time, and then I will start working on those pages, and then I'll start thumbnailing the next group of pages. Does that make sense? It just keeps it interesting. If I'm like only thumbnailing and stuff, then I get bored. And I try to keep myself from getting bored as much as possible. And so that just means kind of switching up what I'm doing, switching up the process. I think that's why I change kind of like the stylistic process between books too, is because I don't want to be bored. Like I've already kind of gotten bored of a style or a technique from a book, and so I'll kind of switch it up. And that's why Phobos is black and white, and I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. Is just so that it's kind of a little bit more entertaining for me as I work on it. And then, you know, my next story, it's probably going to be a different style. But yeah, as far as thumbnails go, they're the hardest part, thumbnails, for me. And so I really need to let my brain rest too between thumbnail sessions. Otherwise it's difficult for me to sit down and work on them for a long period of time, you know. Like when I did storyboards, it's just exactly the same as thumbnails, and my brain would be so tired when I'd come home from work after doing storyboards all day long. Just because you're thinking of it and really you're blueprinting it all out. You're really planning it and thinking how everything works together and staging and trying to understand if you're telling the story right and all this stuff. It's just too much to think about for a long period of time. Richard says they have the 24-inch out now, but not the 32-inch. Interesting. I don't know what I would need a 32-inch screen for necessarily. I was content with the small version. In fact, I think I was more content with their old small version. That was like a 13-inch that was able to mount, because I only look at a small space when I'm working. And I was able to look at a small, the small space, and then I have my actual image on the other screen, and so I can see it in whole on the other screen, and then I can be zoomed in on my Cintiq, and I didn't see any pixels on that one, and so it was amazing. But it's nice to have space to work, but I don't use any of it. You notice, like, well, let's see. So like I'm looking right here. This is kind of my focus. So I have to like go really far to get to the stuff on the sides. I have to move my arm real far, which is probably good for me. I need to exercise. But it's just not like it's not set up. The bigger the canvas doesn't help me move faster, I don't think. It is nice for looking back and forth. But see, if I had a small Cintiq, I would probably just be zoomed in, and usually I'd duplicate my screen, my image, and have it on my big screen, and so I just look up for reference instead of having to go like this and look from panel to panel. Oh, that's his shadow. Okay. Let me just get some bricks in here. Just to kind of sell the idea of the perspective. And this will be a page that I will give to my my friend to color. I started hiring a guy here locally who's really been able to pull off my style. As long as I give him pages that are like reference for what the lighting and everything needs to be, he really can nail it. And so so that's been nice to just be able to give him stuff. I'll do all the kind of like the key scenes for the lighting, as far as like what I want it to feel like, and then I'll give him those pages as well as pages like this, and they'll just be lines, And some of it all flat, like I have the characters flatted here, just mainly so that I can see them. But I'll just give them something like this, this would kind of be the finished product. And if I want to like suggest a light source, like say I want this to be darker back here where Anainik is, the girl, I would actually, kind of suggest a light source. Oops. I would just suggest stuff like that, Like there's this place up here that I feel like this is going to be a shadow. So if there's anything in my mind that's kind of like, yeah, I think that's what I would do, I kind of throw it in, and then I just give it to him like this. I know you didn't ask, but that's what I do. Okay. All this detail doesn't matter. Why am I doing it? Because it looks cool. That's why. Don't you understand that art needs to look cool? Unless you design it to not look cool? Wow, I'm talking out loud. I need to... Oh boy. My circles are so like kind of crooked today. Okay, whatever. I don't need to go into too much detail there. I do want to do this shadow though. I'll title this layer shadow. And it's just kind of Frank's outline, Frank's silhouette. Comically showing how big he is compared to this hole that Sir wants him to go into. I kind of like the unrealisticness of it with his arms like that. I don't know if that works though. And I gotta have room for dialogue too. That's where I always get in trouble. I like do all this design work on a page and panels, and then I go to put in the dialogue and it's like covering everything up. Okay, let me look at comments real quick. Hey, I see Michael. Welcome, Michael. You have more success thumbnailing big chunks of content, Michael? I know some people that do the whole book before they start it. I could see that being advantageous, laying it all out like that, thumbnailing it all out. I just feel like I'd get kind of tired and bored of it. So that's the only reason I jump back and forth, is to kind of keep the creative, the writing aspect of it really close to the creation of the design and art and layout, so that it all still feels creative in each moment, you know. That's why I don't like write out full scripts very much. I haven't yet. I mean, I've some things I have tried doing that, but I'm getting nervous that if I write out a whole script, then it's just going to be years of me executing a script that I wrote a long time ago, and I'll be bored of it, you know? So I like to write it like bullet point lists instead. But I get it. I get why you want to do big chunks of it too. Here. Okay, I'm gonna mute this for a second because I'm gonna eat a snack, and I don't want to make it sound all nasty for you guys. So. I'm done eating for a second. That works. Okay. Next. Trying to figure this out because I've almost drawn more panels than I need here. Because see, this is, let me show you the next page. But, you know, if I have more panels than I need, then it's not that bad. It just means that people get to digest more of the story, more of the art, and more of the mood. So it's like he's sticking his hand down in there, and the scientist sir is trying to, you know, boss him around, tell him where the lever is and stuff. Yeah, and then it comes up behind him, like inquisitively. So it's kind of similar to this panel. This panel is more like from the worm's eye view from inside of the hole. So I don't really know what they'll be saying. I mean, I have a general idea of what they'll be saying, but I guess it doesn't matter. I'll just... The only other option would be put this panel here and just eliminate this panel where that's looking up out of the hole, but I like it, so I don't know. Anyway, don't know if that makes sense to anyone. Okay, let me jump back into the comments. I'm drawing NPCs. Yes, exactly. Not all these are non-playable characters. The rat moms. Let's see. Sean asks, is that a bowl of Vittles, moms? Yepper. You see, you saw the resemblance. All right, keep going. What to do? Maybe I'll shrink this down a little bit. Could make it even smaller. That might be interesting. Show the rats in the foreground, kind of scurrying away. We'll try it anyway. Have a nice black silhouette-y circle. That wouldn't make sense because of where Ninek is in the background. I guess I don't have to have her there. Maybe she doesn't have to show up until the next panel. If I kind of tilt it, then she could kind of be there. Maybe she's just poking her head out from behind Frank's arm. What are you guys talking about? See some conversation. Conversation that I'm not part of, but if I read it, then it'll be a really boring stream. Oh. Oh, question. Right as I was looking at the comments. Comical Foods asks, how much concept art do you create before you start your comic? With this one, I've been working on concept art ever since I was a little boy. And so I think that's why this one kind of comes so naturally for me, is just because I've just been drawing these characters forever. But if it's a brand new story that I just kind of just came up with, then that's a different situation. And I don't think I do too much, honestly. I fill up a couple pages of sketches of character ideas and stuff. But usually I kind of have to, something has to kind of click before I start sketching. And so I'll sketch based on like things that I feel like are working. And then I'll just get those kind of ideas that I think clicked in my mind out, and then I kind of just jump right into pages, and I worry about the next concept designs for the next scenes when I get to those scenes, usually. So for instance, this story in the next book, the next issue, I mean, this girl is going to go into the neighboring town that's close to this castle. And I don't have any of that figured out. All I have is kind of loose ideas, but I don't have any of the characters in that town figured out, even though some of them may or may not be kind of prominent later on. And I don't have any of the location scouting done, nothing, And part of the reason is, like I said before, so that it's exciting for me as I work on those scenes. And you can think, wow, that's crazy that you don't have it figured out, but that's kind of the location and the design is secondary to the story, And there'll be things that I'll figure out in the locations themselves that are super inspiring in the moment, and it'll send the story in a slightly different direction, maybe. But yeah, I try to. It's not like I consciously try to not spend time developing scenes and locations and character designs before I start. It's just that I don't have an interest in it. There's some artists that's all they do is character designs, and they love it. I don't love it. I don't like character design as far as like the craft of it. I don't get much out of it. And so I would rather just, I'd rather have those things kind of fall into place as I'm working on the story, as I'm working on those scenes. There might be some locations or scenes or characters that are real critical that I do need to figure out a little early, but or maybe I'll just have some thoughts on it, Like I know this character is going to be based on this, and it's supposed to represent this, and so as long as I have those ideas and those thoughts on what I want it to feel like going into it, then I'm pretty content with not having all the details figured out. But like this character, Sir and Ninek and Frank, you know, I mean, they're all based on, well, it's not Ninek, but these other characters are based on classic horror characters. So, you know, this is more or less my take on it. But then things like the rats and stuff, that's from, I designed those when I was working on Remind, and that was kind of a long process to finally get it to the shape language that I liked for the rats. Same with the lizard men in Remind. Same with Sithra, and I recycle a lot of my shape language for my characters, if that makes sense. So I need him to look like he's weirded out. Like, let's see if I can draw that. Let's see if I can draw that sound. Those are some ugly gums. Get real sketchy all of a sudden. Not necessarily the right angle that I was envisioning him. But let's see. Maybe I'll try it again. Whoa. I have to like draw over top of this guy because he's so scribbly now. More like that. I'll have to clean all this up because that is looking pretty hideous. Oh well, I'll wait till I clean it up to fix it. Okay. And then maybe Frank needs to be bigger. Oh, was he scratching his head? Kinda. How you guys doing? Are you getting bored? Do you still keep sketchbooks? Andy asks. I have all my old sketchbooks, but I don't really, well, no, I do. I have sketchbooks for like my thumbnails. Yes. So yes, the answer is yes. You're doing final art for a pitch, Michael, huh? I'd love to see it. I'd love to see your pitch, actually. I know when the time is right. So I don't know if anyone heard me at the start of this stream, but if anyone lives in Logan, Utah, or Salt Lake City, Utah, and you want to meet for lunch tomorrow morning, not tomorrow morning, what am I talking about? On Monday morning, I got to drive down there to Logan to deliver some packages. So there's that option. There's also the option of if you live locally here and you want to do a quick little road trip with me, I'd be more than happy to ride with some company. So if you qualify for any one of those positions, send your resume to my agent. Just joking. Let me know. Lorenzo says, "Hey Jason, what is the one thing you would advise to a new writer to do when arranging their ideas together to create a story?" One thing that helped me when I was a young budding writer, before I was real confident in telling stories, was to make a timeline. Just kind of like, draw a timeline. This is past. This is now. Maybe the beginning of the story. This is future. And then just go in here and try to figure out all the critical things that happened in the past to lead up to this point. And then obviously this will be a lot more dense leading up to the future, which is the end of your comic, and just try to make a timeline like that, and just throw all your ideas into it. And if you realize that there's missing gaps, then you can kind of, you can see there's a big place here where I need something to go. Something critical has to happen here between this and this stage. And so that would be my first suggestion. My best suggestion. All right, Nick, I'll be there Monday morning, sharp. I saw a question a little bit back, like, how do you pitch? Comical Foods, how do you pitch? That's a good question. I don't know if I've ever really mastered it. I've done it, but I don't know if I've ever done it successfully. I don't know. It's kind of just boiling it down to, first just try to boil your idea down to a sentence, so that when you throw that sentence at someone, their minds can start racing and connect with it, and this is super hard to do. It's easy to say, yes, you need a log line, but I don't know how to get those log lines figured out. I've kind of always fallen into the camp of start making the thing, and then the log line will emerge. But that's so counterintuitive compared to, like, the people that are really good at pitching. They would hate that. But I feel like the whole pitching procedure, if it's all about pitching it in order to actually start executing it, then it's a different approach than actually making a book, regardless of if it gets sold or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, I find myself, when I try to develop the pitch first, I focus too much on the pitch, and to make the pitch sellable, it turns into a story that I don't want to tell, that I don't personally want to tell. And so for me, I feel like I just kind of have to ignore the fact that it will probably not sell, because I love these ideas that probably won't sell. Which is very counterintuitive, because you always want to sell your stuff, but I don't know. But you're always trying to sell it, though. You're just trying to sell it to an audience. So you want, like, I guess Phobos's pitch is like, it's a spoof on the classic horror characters. Vampire stuck in mid-transformation, I don't know. I feel like there's, especially in America's audience, the classic horror character genre, or just any of that stuff, vampires, mummies, zombies, all that stuff. It's like, it just has such long legs now that kind of, you can just say, it's a zombie comic with a twist, and you have a huge group that's already interested because it's a zombie comic, zombies. Look at those pecs. His neck is a little twisted compared to his pectorials. Does it matter? I don't know. Oh, that's gonna compete with the silhouette of this hole. Well, I'll leave it for now. What will happen if I change this? How do you redo now? Yeah, that definitely looks weird. His face is kind of turned though. Well. really liking how his face is looking up here. Usually I always draw him so his eyes are kind of like, you can't see his eyes because I don't want you to see an expression most of the time. That works. Maybe I'm trying to get too detailed with him too. Michael Regina, question. What do you think a Christian's responsibility is in discussing our faith in our comics and storytelling? Oh, that's a good question. Well, the way I look at it is, the way I looked at it when it was my hobby was the more I devote to something, and if I'm not being true to what I believe, then, especially as a hobby, it's like, why am I valuing this hobby over what I believe, you know? And why shouldn't the two be fused together? And then there's the people that argue, oh, you don't want to infuse the two because one is entertainment and the other is, is a personal belief and different things like that. But I totally disagree with that because I think stories started out long ago as a way to communicate beliefs and ideas and lessons and morals and whatever. And so I think it's assigning a new responsibility to stories if you just say they're only for entertainment. And in fact, stories that are only for entertainment make me mad nowadays because especially kids stuff. When, I look at some of the kids' books that my kids read and the kids' entertainment, it's just so mindless and just to kind of make the kids zone out and just to make them like it. And when there's such a valuable chance to be able to actually teach the kids something as well. And so it doesn't have to be Christianity, but it could be just teaching them some good lessons, I mean, you might as well fuse the two together. So, and now that I'm doing it for a living, I guess it's the same kind of thing I wrestle with of, like, I have this ability to tell any story I want. Why would I just make it mindless entertainment if I really believe this message of Christianity? Why would I not fuse what I believe into it? Why would I make a whole story about another belief system just so it risks not offending anyone when, even if I tell it of another belief system, it's still going to offend someone. So I might as well be true to myself and I might as well put exactly what I believe into it in some way or another, and not make it mindless just for entertainment. I love entertainment, but I love entertainment all the more when it has a reason for being. I don't want to just zone out and be entertained and not know why I was entertained and not be able to walk away feeling like I could have been changed by it or it inspired me, or I don't know. So yeah, it's I know it's a touchy subject because especially because people want their entertainment to be only entertainment nowadays, it seems like. And man, if you step on their entertainment, you're going to get punched in the face. But who cares? Screw that. I don't do stuff just for entertainment. So Yeah. So, you know, I'm using these characters that are people have already fallen in love with these characters in some other setting, you know. And I'm using them so that people can relate to them, but you know, I'm doing it in a way that that definitely infuses my beliefs into it. Otherwise, I'd just go get a work for hire type job, you know? I'll just go and knock on the door at Universal and say, hey, can I do your characters the way you want, just for mindless entertainment, so you can make billions of dollars? Because I don't have a message to tell. You know? So, yeah. Good question, though. I know everyone has kind of a different answer to that. I think it's a very personal thing, too. People have to really have a personal, their own answer to that. You know? And the people who don't like your answer is just someone who wants to do something different with their entertainment and their content. That's fine. They can do their own thing. You know, they can make mindless entertainment if they want. But no one has a right to stop you from making entertainment that's not mindless, you know? And that does have your beliefs in it, and that does have a message, or does have a moral or an agenda, you know? So, yeah. Good question, Michael. This is something we need to discuss more. Not just a one-way conversation. I'm being unfair by only having a one-way conversation here. Comical Foods says, question, as a publisher, do you see yourself publishing other people's work? Not really. I've dabbled with that idea. And the more I've tried to go that direction, the more I found myself not getting done with my own stuff. Okay, I need to stop just messing around on this panel. And, you know, in talking to people like Mark Smiley, who did that with Archaea, he started publishing other people, and then he said he looked back and 10 years later and he hadn't done any of his own stuff, but he had published a lot of other people's work. And I don't see myself doing that yet. So maybe there'll be a day when I'll switch to that frame of mind. And I could see that happening in the future, you know? Maybe once I get all my ideas out and I'm kind of like a little burnout on actually doing all the work of telling the stories, maybe I'll want to switch gears to help other people tell their stories, you know? And of course, it would be something that I would have to believe in. I'd have to believe in their message and feel like-minded with where they're going with it, you know? But not right now. It's not exciting to me right now to publish other people's work. Let's see. I need to make some reference lines. Maybe I'll experiment with throwing in some rats. I might keep this kind of sketchy. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, I need to have those tubes that are going down into it. Where would I do that? Where would I do that? That was a perfectly formulated sentence. Let's see if... I guess the pipes would be on... Frank. Sorry. So I guess I would have to cover up some of Frank. I'll do that on a different layer so I don't mess it up. Something like that. Perspective does not work, though. I have to cover up more. Frank, I did all that work on him, and now I just cover it up. It's kind of giving away our perspective a little bit. We're hinting at perspective, which isn't really established very well. So now that I start doing that, it kind of locks it down. Before I could cheat the perspective, now I can't. Not doing this anyway. Okay, I can buy that. Oh, I see more questions. Let's look real quick. Hey guys, by the way, thanks for hanging out on this stream. Kevin Blanchard asks, if you wanted to do a comic at the level of Tom and Jerry, how would you make sure it's not mindless entertainment? Oh, well, I mean, I think we're so saturated with mindless entertainment, like stuff that it's hard to see that you can put a theme into anything. You can put a moral or a lesson or a belief system or you know, have a message, just something, you know, like someone does something foolish and they get in trouble, you know, because of it. Someone, Tom and Jerry, someone keeps chasing a mouse and they're so blinded by this obsession that you know, it gets them in trouble and they keep you know, I don't know. But I think there's I think at every level you can fuse something into it. I think it's just studios and publishers, they want the money, you know, and so they'll be like, we got to push this thing that wrangles the kids in, and once that starts happening, without and it's mindless, then it shows the publisher and the studio that they can get away with that. They don't have to have a message, all they're trying to do now is just make little zombie kids that just will watch and read whatever, you know. I was looking at the Dogman comics, which is like the hugest selling thing based on Captain Underpants' characters drawing this little comic. And the thing is so crudely drawn, and I was trying to read it because my youngest is really into it, and he wants to get a bunch of Dogman books. And I'm having trouble understanding the point of it all, you know. Maybe it's just to get kids to read. Well, fine. Well, that's a good agenda to get kids to read, but I just don't like it if it's you could get kids to read on something that also has you know, kind of like good lessons for the kids as well. But since Dogman sells and it's making millions of dollars or whatever it is, it teaches publishers and everyone that they don't need, that it can just be mindless. But we don't know how that's actually affecting the kids. Now, are they going to only want mindless stuff that doesn't ever challenge them? Most likely, you know? Like, this challenges me, so I don't want it. It has to be mindless now. If we're starting them out that early with mindless stuff. Now, I may be wrong. Maybe there is some good messages and some good lessons or morals or whatever, I don't know, in Dogman. I can't see it upon my initial observations of it, you know. And I'm not saying that it's like I'm jealous of Dogman though too, because it is so quickly done and so mindless, and yet it's making a lot of money. And so it's tempting to want to do that and just be like, let me just do that, you know? And I even, you know, I got out some paper. This was just yesterday. I got out some paper and I was like, okay, I got a paper and a fat Sharpie. I'm going to make my version of a Dogman comic in 5 seconds and see if I can come up with something that would actually have a story, you know, and that won't take me a long time to make it. And hopefully it'll be encouraging and inspiring to kids, not just be mindless entertainment, you know. But it's only because it's so mindless that it sells that it's tempting to want to go there, you know. I might be wrestling with multiple subjects here, but that's what I think about it anyway. Let's see what you guys are saying. Have you ever heard, Charlene asks, have you ever heard of The Odd One Out? I don't think so. Is it a comic? I haven't, if it's a comic. Fuzzy Comic says, Jason, I love your work and you've given me such a drive knowing that someone can be a follower of God and still create beautiful and compelling art. Well, thanks. Appreciate that. You know, I think, not to go off on the religious tangent here, but when I first broke away from DreamWorks and was like really pursuing art and my comics, I wanted to be, and I was switching away from like trying to say, switching away from being the comic guru guy. I was really trying to put an emphasis on like, I dislike how there's so many people that can make good art and have a message, but they're being bullied away from saying what's really on their heart, and they're being convinced by people in the industry or rude comments to not make something that's worth making, and to not have a message. And now there's evidence that they shouldn't, because there's so much success with these things that don't have a message, you know. And I really wanted to kind of just encourage people who have something that they want to say. And I mean, more specifically, like other fellow Christians, to actually do something with their talent. You know, it's so annoying to me that a Christian can say, if I'm not leading a church, or if I'm not in a ministry, you know, ordained by my pastor, I'm not serving God. And I think that's just the biggest pile of rubbish. Like we all have gifts, and we can all use them, and we can use them to glorify God, right? Sorry, everybody else who doesn't want to hear this, but I want to see other Christians actually use their gifts. Like, start drawing something, tell a story, write a novel, make something, invent something, you know? I mean, leading a church is great, but that's one gift. Being a pastor is one gift, right? You have all kinds of other gifts, though. So, you know, it's so frustrating, and people just try to make, it's not anyone's fault, I don't think, but people just, with this whole mindless entertainment thing, people try to just slap people down if they want to say something, and it's frustrating. Because you should say something. You know, you have a gift for a reason. Like, say something. Change the world. You know what I'm saying? One person can write a story that could change the world. Change the trajectory of the world. So do it. You can invent something that will change the world. You can write a novel. You can write a screenplay. Write scripts. You know, direct a movie. You know what I'm saying? Make some animation. Don't let people tell you that you can't say what you want to say, you know? So anyway, that's my little rant. So I'm glad you feel that way, buddy. See what other questions we got. Yeah, good. I'm reading Imagine Alex drawings. Is that how you say it? I've talked to you a lot, and I don't know how to say your name, your screen name. And you said I'm too scared to speak out my mind on my own channel too. I live in a very far left country, so if I were to even dare being controversial, I'm kind of sure I would lose my disability pay. And Jim says you could. Oh no, Sirius says you could do it. Release it anonymously. That's a good idea. But also, I think it's What am I thinking? I think we trick ourselves into thinking we're going to ruin our lives if we say something that's a little bit controversial, when it's really how you feel or what you believe. I've found the more I just speak my mind and what I believe and put it out there, the more I find allies. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel as alone anymore. Because if I don't speak my mind, then I feel alone, and I feel like I'm just I'm speaking something, you know, and so I'm speaking something that's not true to me, and then it makes me feel empty and alone, and it's a real mind game, you know, if you're not honest with people in your life, and that can just be your fans. If you're not honest with your fans, then you will start feeling more and more alone the bigger your fan base gets. And I've experienced that. I've experienced that with Remind. My fan base got pretty good size, and I didn't feel like I was letting people know who the real me was, you know? And it made me I went through more of a depression than I've ever gone through in my life after finishing Remind. And it's because of that. I just felt empty and alone. Like, why am I doing this? You know? And so after Remind, I mean, you might have seen, like, I shifted to more like, I want to talk about things not in this hidden way and not focus on this garbage that other people want me to say just to please them, but I want to focus on what matters to me, you know, and my beliefs. And you know, my beliefs were all through Remind, but I kept them so hidden and mysterious that people had to figure it out for themselves. But now, you know, when people ask, I want to be honest with them and just tell them, look, I'm a Christian, I'm whatever, you know, and my beliefs are grounded in that, in the Bible. And I'm sorry if you disagree, but you have your beliefs and I have mine. I'm not going to condemn you and hate you for your beliefs. And so, you know, I don't expect you to do the same for me. I want you to share your beliefs, and I want you to give me this respect of letting me share mine, you know. And so that was a big deal when I finally came to that conviction. And it was weird because it was really kind of intertwined with my, I don't know how to put this easily, but it was intertwined with my marriage and my wife. Like, that we were going through some rocky times at the same time as well, where I felt unloved by my wife. And what was interesting, it's because I was hiding things from her. She didn't know who the real me was. And so when I finally revealed the real me to her and, you know, said, this is who I am, this is what I've been doing, and please forgive me, she knew who I was now, and she still chose to love me. And it's the same thing with your fans and your friends online. It's like, you have to eventually get past the shallowness and say who you are and say what you believe in order to make any genuine connections, in order to actually experience love from people. Because, you know, if they're loving a facade, then they're not really loving you. Anyway, okay. Oh, that's deep. I don't know. I don't know if you guys wanted to go there. Sterling House, thank you for the $5 super chat. You say, your art is gorgeous and I respect your faith in God as a fellow Christian. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Thank you for your support. Thanks for being in this chat, in the stream too. Okay, I'm going to take, wait, let me just read this response here real quick. No, I won't read the response. I'll let you guys read it. These are good subjects though. I love this stuff. And see, I mean, this is the stuff that's like, you know, if this stream could just be shallow and it could just be whatever. But, and it could just be mindless entertainment. But it's fun to be able to go someplace that means something to me and you guys, if that means anything to you guys. Anyway, I noticed that quite a few people dropped out of the stream. So yeah, it was a little bit too serious, right? So we better stop that so that we don't lose more people. Why can't I? I'm just joking, guys. See, people have a right to leave if they don't like what's being said. And I think that's exactly how stories should be. You know, if you don't like what a story is saying, you can read it and go, okay, yeah, I get the point, but I disagree, you know? I like that we can actually have that choice. Okay, let me finish this. So I think I want to put a couple mice in here. Just silhouettes. I'm not really sure how to do it. could have them running away. They're little bums. They're little furry bums. Yeah, I just need to get some shapes in here. That's what I need to do. I guess that kind of takes care of the position where a 9-inch was going to be standing. Oh, did I draw? Oh, I drew it on that layer. Oh, well. I need to redraw that pipe layer anyway. Okay. I'm going to just draw this again, but cleaner. And then I guess I need to clean up Sir's face, or hands and mouth a little bit too. And then I think I'll be done with this page. So... Oop. I'm just going to keep these guys really, really simple. See if there's any more questions before I zone out. Jason McIntosh, appreciate that, buddy. I don't think there's ever too late. I barely started doing my graphic novels when I turned 40. I mean, as far as like me doing it as a career, you know. I stumbled through life doing art for a long time, and not really being very happy with it. And I feel like in my 40s is when I finally started finding kind of my calling and stuff like that, and how to approach it and what to write stories about and all that stuff. So I don't think it's too late at all. It's never too late. As long as you're breathing, it's not too late, right? not good. Those ears are just tangenting like crazy. You know, I'm gonna take this guy out. We'll replace it with that. Some weird looking mice. Does that look like his mouth is open? Okay. I don't know if all those look very good, but I think it's good enough. Good enough. They'll probably be in the shadows anyway, you know. Darken them up really good when we're coloring them, and we'll just make a little flat layer for them. Nice flats. Let's see. I don't see any questions. Just so you guys know, if you have questions and you want me to see them, there's a couple ways you can do it. you can put question in bold, or not bold, but in all caps, like you see, like you've seen some of the other people doing in the chats. And obviously you could do a super chat too, and that will get my attention. But all you really need to do is just say question in bold, and I'll see it when I'm looking through the chat. Okay. Now, it's going to do the flats. Oh, we've got some questions. Give me 1 second and I'll answer your questions, guys. I might take out some of this black now. Since those mice are kind of filling up the frame now. Kind of beating a dead horse with these panels. Like, there's not a whole lot being said with them. Yeah, there's a bunch of mice. Yeah, there's a bunch of mice. Yeah, there's a bunch of mice. Okay, let me go to some questions, which I see a bunch. And then all I got to do is clean up Sir's mouth and hands. And then I'll be done with that page. So Jason says, what is your advice to a newbie trying to get his work noticed? I post socially quite often, but not really getting too far with that. Sorry if you've answered this before. I always hesitate with social media stuff because you'll become... It's good. It's good. It has pros and cons. But the thing is... I don't think it's necessary. I think if your stuff... my view on social media is if I make good content that excites people and makes people want to share it, then it's not my job to share it with everybody in the world. It should be like people should share it, you know? Like, and that's your goal, is to make content that excites people to want to share it. And if you're not doing that, then you have to go back to the drawing table and keep reworking it or practicing your skill and craft more to get to that point to where people want to share it, right? Because you can't possibly reach out to every person and say, hey, I want to give you this personal invitation to check out my artwork, you know? And so I think the people and artists who become popular on social media, I think the problem is they trap themselves. They get themselves cornered into the situation where they have to keep making this social media style art. And so if that's what you want to do, like if you want to make Instagram pictures that are easy to digest in 1 second and can be, and people want to just see more of that stuff, and you want to create more of that stuff, then that's cool. You know, that's probably a good place to be, you know. But me, I don't want to do these standalone pictures that work well on Instagram. I want to make these stories, and I want to make this narrative art. And, uh-oh, it's my wife. Give me 1 second, guys. Hi. Okay. Social media. Be careful not to. Okay. Yeah. If you build yourself up as a social media artist, become Instagram famous, then people will expect that from you, and that will be your career, is to deliver this Instagram famous type content. If you want to make comic books, you can't do that on Instagram unless you want to try to restructure where you tell a story on Instagram, which is fine, or comic gag a days. Like my friend Anthony Holden has this little comic I think it's called Precious Rascals, and he has it to where you swipe to see the panels. It works perfect for Instagram, and then he could collect that into a book, and it would be, it's a nice little comic book with strips, comic strips. So you just have to figure out if the social media platform is helping you do the thing you want to do, or if it's distracting you from doing the thing you want to do. And if it's distracting you and you're doing secondary content for this purpose of the social media thing in hopes of it getting big, then I think it's the wrong direction to go. And again, if it gets big, people will expect you to do that secondary stuff more than your primary stuff that you want to work on. So I think there's a big no-no in trying to make stuff right specifically for Facebook, or make stuff specifically for Twitter or Instagram, or what is it? What are some of the other ones? I don't know. And then there's YouTube. Like the reason I do YouTube is because I'm actually able to get my primary content made on YouTube while I'm streaming. So that's good. I'm connecting with you guys as well. So that's a bonus. YouTube's turned out to be where like 50% of my traffic comes from now, for like new people that discover me. I'm learning. So there's good reasons for it. And so you could argue that my YouTube content is secondary, and yeah, it kind of is. Like when I edit together videos, make videos on YouTube, it's definitely a secondary thing. But it's I wouldn't want to do. Okay, so I'll say it like this: I wouldn't want to do YouTube without doing comics, if that makes sense. If YouTube meant I stopped doing comics just to do YouTube, I would be uninterested in it, because I don't want that YouTuber lifestyle. I don't want to do that, But if it gets people to my comics, and it connects, if it's my means of communicating with my audience about my comics, then it serves its purpose and it's good. So I'm kind of sidestepping and going all over the place with that answer. So I guess it just depends on what kind of content you're making, and if you can find a social media platform that motivates you to make the content you want to make, not the content that the platform demands. Does that make sense? Try to make something that's so good that other people want to share it, because that's the primary thing you want. If other people don't want to share it, then you'll never grow an audience. Okay, and it might be a slow thing too, a slow growth, and that's kind of how it is with webcomics. You get one fan every day, maybe, or every week. How slow is that going to take? It's going to take a long time, But all those fans add up, and eventually it can start paying you to do the next books and all that stuff. But it's got to start from a place of you just loving to do it so much, and you want to make this thing that you're passionate about, and then people will start seeing it, and they start wanting to share it. Okay, so going off on a tangent. Let me go on to the next question. I hope that answers your question too. Well, let me go back to it. So what's your advice on a newbie trying to get noticed for his work? Yeah, I guess, again, make something that other people will want to share. And until you get to that point, I think you need to keep going back to the drawing table and going back to building your skills. Okay? It might take 20 years to build your skills. It might take 10. It might take 5. It might take a year, But keep going back and focusing on those skills, whether it's storytelling or coloring or lighting or composition or anatomy or drawing or whatever. Okay? And once people start wanting to share it for you, that's the component you need, you know. Eric Allard asks, "Hello, Jason. I hope you are doing well." I am. I was wondering when in your artistic process did you decide to ink directly over your layouts? Over my thumbnails, you mean, right? It was definitely after I got a lot more confident in my art and my ability. And it depends on the characters. Like when I'm drawing the girl in Ninek, I have to really... I don't feel like I'm just that good at drawing girls the way I want to draw them. And so it takes a lot more layers of sketching to kind of get her shape right and stuff, or faces right. But if it's like some simple characters, then I can, and I've drawn them enough, then I know I can go straight from a real rough drawing to a finished sketch most of the time. And so it just came with the confidence of and doing it enough to where I became confident to do it. I don't do it on paper straight over my roughs. Excuse me. I'll always either print it out on paper and then ink it, so I'm never messing up my original sketches, or I'll do the sketch in the Cintiq and then print it out and then ink over that. So it's never really a risk of ruining that underlying layer. Same with on the computer. It's never a risk, you know. So if my sketches end up being right the first time, cool. If not, I can make another layer, you know. Comical Foods asks, what's your process when working with an editor? Well, my process is I finish my book and then I send it to my editor, my friend Jeremy Barlow, and I just have him do text edits. So he's like seeing if there's grammatical stuff wrong, and then I'll ask him to if there's weak sentences or weak build-ups, if he could like help me make it better. I will, you know, I'll take all the advice from him that I can, and I'll give it to him with notes of what I'm trying to convey. Like, I really want this mood on this page to be this, and I'm trying to convey this. Does this come across without being preachy? Does it come across without being, you know, hammering it with way too many hints? Does it come across, you know, does this surprise you or not, you know? And if it doesn't, how can we make it so it does, you know? And so he doesn't really do anything that changes my art and suggests to change art or panels or anything. He more or less helps me refine the wording. And sometimes there'll be spreads and pages where I'm like, I need her or this character to be thinking and having this internal dialogue they're struggling with this, and this. And I don't have anything written. I don't know how to do it. And then he'll come up with something, you know? And then sometimes it'll be exactly right. Sometimes we'll go back and forth a couple times, and or he'll try something and then it just won't work at all, and so I'll try it again and get it, and then I'll send that back to him, right? So that's the way I work with my editor. But it's different than working for an editor at, like, say, if Marvel were to hire you, because the editor has the control and you have to kind of do more what the editor says, from what I understand. They'll help you too, but in my case, it's like I'm hiring the editor and I want to convey what I want to convey, and if the editor helps me convey that, cool. If not, then it's not going to work. But so far, Jeremy and I really connect, and so we get what we're trying to do, you know. He gets what I'm trying to do, and he really helps. So it's really been a good relationship, and he's an old friend too, so it's great. Alicia says, I moved to LA to join the animation industry, but now I write a story and want to go the comic route. Any advice? I guess it depends on how far you are in your career. If you've Do you feel like you're at a place where you can where your artwork kind of can hold its own weight and it can speak for itself? Or are you still, like, have you broken into the LA scene yet? You know, like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, where you're at. Because if you're really starting out and it's like you're in the place where you're having trouble getting jobs, then it's still going to go back to, like, building that skill set and refining your craft. There's a lot of benefits to going the comic route now because you can go online and just build that audience, even if you aren't very skilled yet. And it'll take longer if you're not as skilled, but you can do it, you know. There's plenty of people that aren't good artists that have built a big following online. So I would suggest, you know, jumping into the online world, posting your comics online, put them out there for free. Do everything you can to just finish pieces of work, finish comics, so that people can see what you can do on your own, start to finish. You know, if you have jobs, keep those jobs, keep those relationships until your comics can actually start paying bills, because it's going to take some time for that transition to happen. And so I wouldn't abandon art jobs. I wouldn't abandon any career that you have if you're working in animation right now. But that shouldn't stop you from pushing really hard in the direction you want to go when you have your time to do what you want to do, right? Trying to focus. Sorry, my eyes are not working the best. Fuzzy Comics asks, what is your favorite type of comedy to depict in the comic book format? Slapstick, wordplay. You know, back in the day when I did a lot more comedy when I was in junior high, in high school, and out of high school, it was definitely a lot more slapstick than I think I enjoy now. I still like it a little bit, but I think wordplay is probably more enjoyable. Like just reading really ridiculous sentences and stuff like that is pretty fun. But the nature of Phobos has always been kind of slapstick as well. So we'll see where that goes, because it's definitely not quite as slapstick as it was in my older versions. Now it's more like more serious looking, and then just ridiculous things are being said and done, you know? So I don't know if that answers that question. Let's see, where are we at now? Hey man, thanks for the two, it's not dollars, I don't know what that is, but thank you so much for the money. Imagine Alex Drawings. You say you are brave. Do you do what you always wanted to do? Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. And I think we have gone through all the questions. Oh, I see one here at the end. Noon Comics. Who do you set up the stream? What? Who do you set up the stream, Jason? I mean, 2 cameras connected straight to computer. Okay, so the one camera, this one here is on my computer. This is my iMac camera that I'm covering up right now. And then it's my screen. So I use OBS, which is Open Broadcast Software, and it grabs, you can set it up to use a screen, a certain area, whatever cameras you have plugged in, and then it sends it to YouTube. So that's what I do. Okay. Imagine, Alex, are you saying you were asking the question of how? Or am I misunderstanding you? I'll give you a second to respond. And then I'll try to clean up this face, and then I'm going to have to unplug so that I can eat some food. Good questions, though, guys. This has been actually a pretty good stream. Very good stream. It's pretty good. No, it's really good. Suddenly I'm really hungry. Oh, it's because it's 2:15 and I haven't eaten yet. No wonder. Just keep this really simple. Simple and loose and easy to draw. I think that works. So I'm going to take this sketch now and just delete the sketchy version of this. It's still pretty sketchy, but it says it's clear enough. And then I'll just merge those together. I'm not sure if it's any better than the sketch. Okay, I think that's going to be it. All right, well, yeah, I spent way too much time on that last panel. You see on the left side, it's quite a bit more like quick as far as like the drawings. And then on the right side, they're a lot more like noodly and refined, and like I spent more time massaging all the lines. But that's what happens when you start streaming, I guess. Okay, guys, I'm going to take off. That's it. I don't think there's any more questions, which is good. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. And I thank you for all the super chats, too. That's very nice of you and very encouraging. Thanks for all the great questions today and the great direction that the conversation went. And I will see you guys I don't know when, but I'll probably stream next week. And if anyone wants to drive to Logan, Utah with me from Pocatello, Idaho, Monday morning, let me know. Or if you want to meet me for lunch in Logan, Utah, I will be there Monday around lunchtime. Hit me up, email me, or something. Don't tweet me because I probably won't see it, but email me, and we'll make it happen if we can. All right, guys. Thanks again. And signing off as soon as I hit the stop button. See ya.